This is Common Sense Radio. Straightforward and no excuses.
All right. Come on now.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Call me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
What I said was perfectly right and spot on accurate.
Boy's got a mouth like a cannon, always shooting it all.
Stop. Yeah, stop. I mean, you're way off script.
Got it in me. Gonna quit until it all comes out.
Hey, boy!
Been a long education.
Yeah, you know, it's not cynical. It's common sense.
Pay attention to me when I'm talking to you.
I'm gonna rock the nation. Rock the nation.
Genuine, accountable, and raw. Here is Steve Gruber.
And welcome back to it, my friends. It's Thursday, and I think the conversation that a lot of folks are having right now is, what is this new road deal going to mean? Is it going to mean much of anything to us? Is it going to change anything anytime soon, or are things going to stay just about the way they are for some time to come? Well, we're going to find out. I mean, it took 4 years, right? It took 4 years to get to this point in the conversation. And so now it's time to sort out what's in this deal. It's about $1.2 billion. At least it will be at some point in the future. You know, and we had a couple of callers yesterday mentioned to me that Michigan's roads are not that bad compared to other states, other places they've been. You know, and I find there to be a lot of truth to that. I mean, I was just recently in Texas again. There are parts of Texas, the roads are significantly worse than where I drive on a regular basis around here. Now, I am sure that you have some examples of places here in Michigan that are, you know, just very, very bad. But Rick Snyder, the governor, plans to sign this measure into law. It's not the plan that he asked for a long time ago, but it's, you know, for Snyder, he says he's ready to get it done. And he said, I quote, "So as soon as they are prepared, I'll look forward to signing them," that being the 7 bills. "And we'll make sure you know that date, because I hope, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of people excited to be there for that signing ceremony." Now, here's how it breaks down. You'll be paying a lot more at the pump. Right now, we pay 19 cents per gallon in gasoline tax. That'll go to 26.3 cents on the 1st of January, 2017. The diesel tax will also go to, I guess, 26.3, if I'm understanding this correctly. That'll generate about $400 million a year in new revenue for roads. And beginning in 2022, those fuel tax rates will rise and fall with inflation. Vehicle registration fees will increase by 20% for passenger vehicles and trucks beginning January 1st, 2017. That means a $100 registration fee would become $120. Basic math, right? Don't take your Common Core test too seriously. That's projected to increase $200 million a year for the roads. And then later on, general fund money would be shifted. $150 million in 2019, and then 2020 will be $325 and $600 million in 2021. I mean, there is some tax relief in there for you. The homestead property tax credit would increase. Income taxes could be automatically cut in future years. The final road funding plan includes a controversial, and this is the way it was put by some of the articles online. I'm not calling it controversial. Their word, not mine. The final road funding plan includes an income tax rollback trigger, but delays and minimizes the proposal approved by the House. Beginning in 2023, the state would reduce its 4.25% income tax rate after any year that general fund revenue growth exceeds inflation times 1.425. In other words, general fund revenue would have to grow by more than just inflation. If the same trigger were already in place, the income tax rates would have automatically dropped from 4.25% to 3.96% in tax year 2016. According to the FHA analysis, reducing available state revenue by $593 million. Good for us. Liberals are calling it a fiscal time bomb. And some conservatives who generally support income tax cuts worry that future legislatures will simply undo the provision before the trigger is ever squeezed. Michigan has a flat income tax, as you probably know, and all residents pay the same rate. A rollback would mean a cut for all taxpayers, but on a dollar-to-dollar basis, higher earners could see bigger savings. And that's the way it normally works. And motorists would pay about an extra $60 per year. Some taxpayers could save overall. And it doesn't reach full funding until 2021. So we'll see what happens here. Mass transit didn't get much. Democrats opposed this deal in large part, and Republicans supported it. And there you have it. That's what you voted for. That's whether you like the outcome or not, that's what you voted for. The phone number here, 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. And while we're at it, talking about roads and cars and everything else, Bernie Sanders is out there beating the campaign trail. And he thinks that, this climate change thing is the biggest threat to all of us, and he doesn't want us driving cars at all. So, we could just scrap the whole road funding deal altogether, because bicycles aren't going to hurt the roads much. You'll need a parka or a snowmobile suit. Of course, snowmobiles would be banned as well. Motor vehicles, internal combustion engines will be banned altogether. Henry Ford has destroyed the world. Michigan's own Henry Ford apparently has destroyed the world, according to Bernie Sanders. He launched a new climate campaign yesterday aimed at fighting global warming by banning new coal, oil, and gas exploration on public land. The Keep It in the Ground Act, co-sponsored by the socialist, aims at plugging one of the big gaps in Barack Obama's climate change plan. It's cut number 2. Go ahead and take that, Alex.
And unless we move aggressively to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel into energy efficiency, into sustainable energy, the planet that we're going to be leaving our kids is something that we should be ashamed of. And you can't talk the talk and say, I'm concerned about climate change, and then at the same time, oh, by the way, we're going to extract huge amounts of oil or coal or gas from federal land. You can't do that. But also what we have got to do is to understand that workers in the fossil fuel industry, through no fault of their own, they're just trying to make a living, are producing a product which is endangering our planet. And we have the moral responsibility to make sure that as we transition away from fossil fuels, energy efficiency and sustainable energy, these workers are protected.
Back to his earlier comment there from Bernie. When I walked out yesterday, I saw the fall colors, and I saw the winter wheat that's up on, 3, 4, 5 inches now, and it was brilliant green, and those fall colors of yellow and red, and that bright blue sky. I was embarrassed. I was mortified at what we're leaving behind for our children and grandchildren when it comes to the earth. I mean, I'm looking around at Michigan and thinking, my God, what a spectacular place. And I'm thinking, I am just embarrassed that I would leave a place that's clean and green and wonderful to the next generation. Bernie Sanders, shut up. It's the Steve Gruber Show on a Thursday.
Michigan, born and raised with Midwestern values and Michigan common sense.
Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right.
All right, it's Thursday, and it's time for school to be in session, so make sure you sit up straight, boys and girls, and have a pencil ready, because we're going to the academy today, Rick's Firearm Academy, actually. Rick Ector is here, the National Rifle Association credentialed firearms instructor who spends his time in Detroit, legally armed in Detroit, he does. Rick, welcome back to the program.
Hey, Steve, thank you so very much for having me on again.
I read this, the number of concealed pistol licenses in Michigan continues to climb. The number of people that are taking seriously their own self-protection, the protection of their families, the protection of their homes, and sometimes others, has become a serious endeavor. For you, it happened after you were held at gunpoint in your own driveway, and you decided that would never happen again. But as you know, Rick, there are those out there that they don't care. They don't care about you protecting yourself. They claim to be Second Amendment supporters, but only if they get to keep all the guns in their own hands, because that's what liberals do. And so what happens is if you protect yourself in, the way you did, or you actually have to pull the trigger, which, well, sometimes happens, there's an aftermath. There's a price to pay, potentially. You could end up in jail. You could be charged with murder. A whole lot of bad things can happen, and I want to talk about what you do in that situation. Rick, where do you start?
Oh, yeah, it's a very unique seminar that we're doing on this upcoming weekend. When you go out and you see what's out there in the marketplace, everyone's talking about how do you get to the point of actually making the decision to pull the trigger. You talk about safe firearm handling, you talk about marksmanship, and then you talk about your knowledge of the law, when to actually pull the trigger. Well, I thought it'd be cool to start off a educational training seminar for free with the actual shooting and go forward. First and foremost, the thing that you have to keep in mind is that there's going to be contact with law enforcement. What do you say to law enforcement? What don't you say? This whole concept of when this defensive gun usage event happens, you want to make sure that you don't sacrifice your rights by making certain statements or even trying to make a statement without the benefit of counsel. Even law enforcement at least has the benefit of their union rep before they start making certain admonishments and admissions. And there's a certain time factor, too. And then, of course, if you, by chance, are arrested, that could happen. You may be afforded bond. So one thing that we have in this training session, we actually bring out a couple of bail bondsmen and do a presentation on that process and how it works. A couple of criminal defense attorneys. And, you need to have representation. Look at all the evidence. Is it in your best interest to make a statement? And then, there's a charging decision. The prosecutor may or may not decide to charge you. And if they do decide to charge you, then you have to look at your finances and say, hey, this thing is going to trial, and it could potentially cost me maybe $40,000, $50,000. Do I have...
Now, before we get there, though, before we get that far down the road, Rick, let me ask you this. Let's say you are a concealed pistol license. You have the CPL. You're legal in the state of Michigan. Like so many people listening to this program right now, you're legal. And unfortunately, sometime today, you're involved with a shooting. What is the number one thing you should do immediately following a shooting? What should you do right then and there?
Well, immediately right after a shooting, you need to do a quick survey, a quick scan, and make sure that you're safe. If you're not safe, you need to get to somewhere where you are safe. And then you do need to call 911. You do need to make, a very small, very specific call to 911 without incriminating yourself, letting them know that a shooting has occurred at some location. That is the number one thing you need to do. Then, too, I would say that if you have already identified someone to criminally represent you, you do need to get a hold of your attorney right away. And that's a huge hint to everyone who is carrying a firearm for personal protection. If you don't have a lawyer, you need to get one. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about in the seminar this upcoming weekend. How do you establish a relationship with an attorney to represent you? What type of characteristics are you looking from that attorney? And try to develop a good rapport with him to see if he actually has a good, firm understanding of what the actual gun laws are. Believe it or not, there's some guys out here that know what they're doing, and there's a few that they have a practice. They're going to practice on your time and with your freedom hanging in the balance. So
you see, are you telling me a few of these attorneys are shooting from the hip?
Yeah, there's some guys out here, that will take your money and just see how it goes, and they won't have a real understanding of what's going on. They'll just learn as they go. Well, that's great for him, but when you're talking about a situation in which your freedom is hanging in the balance, then I think you would probably want to get somebody that's been down this road before and knows the ropes and who's going to be able to best represent yourself. Yeah, you want to go with the guy.
So you're having a get-together this weekend, you say, to have people so they can learn. That's going to be held at Rick's Firearm Academy. That's in Detroit, but anybody is welcome to attend, correct?
Yeah, anybody's welcome to attend. We have a certain amount of space that's cordoned off. Obviously, our resources in terms of space is not infinite. We'd ask that you come on out, check out our Rick's Firearm Academy of Detroit page on Facebook. I have a link set up. And there's a quick event management page that'll go to. All I need is your name and your email address, and you'll get a email return receipt that will allow you admission. It's totally free. Come on out and join us and get educated. It's about a 2.5-hour end-to-end presentation, and it's for anyone who owns a firearm or has a concealed pistol license and has a desire to be trained on what happens after you pull the trigger.
Rick Ector, always an education with you, my friend, and love having you on the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and take care and have a great weekend coming up.
Genuine Michigan common sense on display every day.
So who gets hurt the worst with these new government regulations and so forth? You talk about raising taxes and increasing fees and increasing regulations. People that are making money, that are doing okay, they're going to be all right. They're going to get by. They're going to figure out how to pay it. It's those that are on the bubble and those that are lower income levels that, well, they're the ones that get pinched and hurt the worst when these things happen. Joining me now is Peter Ferrara, a senior fellow of entitlement and budget policy with the Heartland Institute. There's a new study out that supports what I just said and said that new clean air regulations will increase poverty, mostly among black and Hispanic populations. Peter, welcome to the program.
Glad to be here.
So, it's not surprising to me, but some people still surprised that these regulations, when they come along, those that are most adversely affected are those that can least afford it. Is that still true?
Well, yes. When President Obama was originally running for president in 2008, he said to a group of supporters, under my plan, electricity costs will necessarily skyrocket. Well, who's going to be hurt when electricity costs necessarily skyrocket? So the National Black Chamber of Commerce produced this study. They said that EPA's new regulations, the latest known as the Clean Power Plan, the regulations would more than double the cost of natural gas electricity, adding over $1 trillion to family and business energy bills. And $1 trillion, the entire economy is only $17 trillion. So if they're going to raise costs for electricity by $1 trillion, who do you think that's going to hurt the most? It's going to hurt the poorest people. So the National Black Chamber of Commerce estimates that the job losses would be $7 million. 7 million people would lose their Black Americans would lose their jobs. 12 million Hispanic Americans would lose their jobs. The poverty rate would increase by more than 23% for blacks and 26% for Hispanics. So,
and hold on. Now, this is based on because of clean air regulations. Now, how do you get from point A to point B? That sounds pretty dire.
Well, to begin with, they're estimating the impact of these clean air regulations. The idea is to increase the cost of electricity, so you won't power plants won't have to produce as much electricity and won't put as much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. There is no proof, actually, that carbon dioxide causes potentially dangerous global warming. There can be some effect in increasing temperatures, but there's nothing to suggest that the use of production of energy and electricity is going to cause potentially catastrophic global warming or potentially catastrophic climate change. There is no evidence to support that, actually. So, in fact, the only documented effect of increased carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, carbon dioxide is a natural component of the environment. It's essential for plants to survive. increased carbon dioxide actually is plant fertilizer. It causes plants to grow more rapidly. That's why in real greenhouses, they actually pump increased carbon dioxide inside the real greenhouse.
Here's the thing, and that's how you create more life, right? More water. So here's the thing: more carbon dioxide and more water creates more growth, plant growth, which means all plants: corn,
that's right,
soybeans, rice, wheat. Anyhow, go on.
The only documented effect of increased carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is increased agricultural output. It's documented that there's been over $1 trillion of increased agricultural output. The increased CO2 in the atmosphere, the only documented effect, is an actual greening of the planet. It's the most pro-environmental thing in world history, actually. But there's no documented effect. This could have potentially catastrophic effect on the temperature or on the Earth. So this is promoted by really.
What's the goal then?
One is environmental extremists, and two is corporate crony capitalists, people getting money from the government for their supposedly pro-environmental businesses, like Tesla, for example, which produces electric cars. Tesla is the biggest welfare recipient in American history, actually, and so of course Tesla supports this notion that increased CO2 is potentially catastrophic. That's because they're in on the game. But the federal government is literally giving away billions of dollars to people to write hysterical analyses arguing that there's potentially catastrophic results from global warming. But there's no evidence at all actually to support that.
Now hold on. When you say Tesla is the biggest recipient of corporate welfare, what do you mean by that?
Billions of dollars go to Tesla, but if you buy a Tesla vehicle, you get a $7,500 tax credit. The government is paying people $7,500 to buy Tesla cars. I could become a great rich entrepreneur if whatever I produce, the federal government gives people $7,500 each to go buy it. But Tesla is the biggest welfare recipient in world history, actually, because billions of dollars, that tax credit is just one form. Billions of dollars go to Tesla from federal and state governments across the country to promote their electric car company, and they're not the only one. So you have this echo goes on. The left figured this out. If we promote this, if we pay the businesses, if we pay people to echo our theme, it'll seem like everybody's repeating it. But the same applies to scientific studies. There are actually scientists that are getting huge amounts of corporate welfare. There's a Professor Shukla at George Mason University. He's actually the biggest individual recipient of welfare. So he gets millions of dollars in grants from the federal government every year to promote climate hysteria. And so he does his best to do that and writes these studies.
And create panic and create, concern.
The Industrial Revolution, which would be the end of the world.
Well, no, that is what they want. They think they have this notion that somehow, and it's always been this way since I've been around, since I've been paying attention for 50 years or whatever. The fact of the matter is, they try to tell you, well, America uses too much stuff, and Americans are rich, and Americans, take advantage of the world, and it's all about, it doesn't have anything to do with climate change. It doesn't have to do with these things. It has to do with they don't like the fact that we believe that we have succeeded better, done more, created more, and done more to help the planet, this country, than anything in world history, which we have, by the way, better transportation, communication, medication, and the list goes on.
Yes.
But their war is on our lifestyle. Their war, and they use these different vehicles to get there.
That's exactly right. The war is on our lifestyle. The war is on against prosperity. You have now a U.S. government is actually a war against prosperity, and this is the one thing they're good at is shutting down prosperity. So this is why there was no recovery from the last recession, and we're more likely going to go into a new recession before we have any kind of real recovery. This, Obama's acolytes like to claim that he saved the country from a Great Depression. Actually, we're in a Great Depression. This is really what the Depression was like. I mean, the Depression went on for 10 years, and we're getting close to 10 years. And at 2% growth, instead of traditional American growth, we become Argentina. He's turning...
Peter, we got to run. Peter Ferrara. We have to run, my friend, senior fellow at the Heartland Institute. Thank you so much for stopping in. We'll be back in just a moment on a Thursday edition of the Steve Gruber Show.
The Steve Gruber Show. American values with Midwestern common sense.
Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of...
I shared this op-ed earlier, but maybe I should share it again, and it doesn't take a lot of time. I wrote an op-ed yesterday on Todd Corser and Cindy Gamrett. Here it is. To Corser and Gamrett, goodbye. The end. That's my whole op-ed piece. I know it's kind of in-depth and, really requires you to do some deep thinking, but there it is. Goodbye, the end. One of the folks that helped usher in an end to this ongoing nonsense at the state capitol and for voters in Allegan and Lapeer County, Mary Whiteford, who won the 80th House District GOP primary victory on Tuesday. She joins us now. Mary Whiteford, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, everybody.
There you go. You're so polite. And I appreciate that.
I'm so excited to be here.
Well, congratulations, first of all. It's a hard-fought victory and a pretty resounding victory. 52% of the vote, I see. Yeah.
I'm incredulous. I just did everything I could think of and my team could think of and worked our booties off to get around the county and be there for people. And it was incredible.
Now, obviously, you ran previously, correct? And you had lost to the former Representative Cindy Gamrett the last time around. Now, when you started to watch this unfold, you must have been going, "You've got to be kidding me!" After the after the whole family values part of her campaign and Todd Corser, you must have just been scratching your head, going, "I can't believe this."
Right. It was really surprising, and shocking. I would have never imagined, but I just knew when I ran before, I knocked on almost 7,000 doors in a very rural county. I just made connections with people, and I got a chance to reconnect with everybody, and they got to see that I never gave up, and I hung in there, and I'm just so passionate about being a good representative for this county. I kind of did it in a different way by getting involved in my mental health commission and working on my human trafficking task force between our two counties here and staying involved, even the Children's Museum, because I have a granddaughter, and my kids grew up going to children's museums all the time. So when they saw that I just never gave up, and I just felt such a passion, and it never left my heart, so it became my dream to eventually do something like this. I didn't expect it now, but, God had a plan, and got to do it.
Yeah, but here it is. You're an emergency room nurse by trade, and so you deal with emergency situations in a long time. Right now, I would say the public trust needs a triage unit in your county because of what has happened here. Now, obviously, what has happened, this mess, this train wreck, this scandal, this stain, if you will, not of your doing by any means, nothing you had anything to do with, but here you are as a triage nurse, as you often get called in. You're not involved with the car accidents when people roll into the ER either, but here you are to clean up the mess. What are you going to do to reestablish trust with your constituents, to fix things, if you will, to get things back on the road to recovery?
Well, just like in the ER, you always have a plan. You've got ABCs. Now, for me, I want to focus on jobs and the economy. That's number one for people. But I have a different approach. It's a three-tiered approach. I want to include job creators, our companies that want to come to Allegan County, companies that are in Allegan County right now. That's number one. Number two, our local municipalities are key. I want to keep in constant communication with my different municipalities because they're the ones who can totally block an expansion or a company coming in. They want to be at the table in the beginning. So 2 local municipalities. Number 3, the education system. We have a lot of school districts that I want to tie into this message, into this conversation, because they want their students to succeed. We want our kids to be able to be prepared for these jobs. And I do not want Allegan County to be the place that job creators do not come to because of the workforce. So working together, all three of us, communication, collaboration, that's the key. And I'm going to be an advocate, and I'm going to be really encouraging everybody to come together to do that. And I'm a pediatric nurse as well. Kids are our future. And I want my granddaughter to have the opportunity to stay here in Allegan County or West Michigan, just like everybody else. We've got moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas. They want their kids to be able to stay here. This is how I think we should approach this. And I'm going to be just working hard for that and being an ambassador for my county. So if I'm out on the road and I hear about somebody who wants to locate, they're looking for a place to locate and expand, I'm going to say, get over here. Talk to this mayor over here. Talk to this township supervisor. They want you here. Let's make this work. And I'm going to be that person.
There you go. Mary Whiteford on the line. She has claimed the 80th House District GOP primary victory on Tuesday of this week, and finally bringing to a close the tawdry stories of Todd Courser and Cindy Gamrot. Now, as far as going forward, did you have any conversation with Cindy? You really don't have anything to do with her particularly, do you?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Right. So now it's just time to close that chapter.
Really, our county, this district is full of hardworking, great people, and they want to move forward. They don't want to talk about the scandal anymore. They want their needs addressed. They want the hard work to be done, and they saw that in me, that I am willing to just move forward and be positive. I can't help myself. I'm such a hopeful person, even in the hard times.
Now, you have one more hurdle to get over. That comes on March the 8th, if I'm not mistaken. You still do have to win a general election on March the 8th, and then it's off to Lansing. And most people believe that you will win because of the makeup of your county.
But I'm not taking any chances. I spent all day on the road. We have almost 90 big signs around the county. So my husband and I, that's our date night, our date afternoon. We hopped in the truck, we rented a trailer, and we went around and connected with all the people who volunteered to let me have big signs.
And you guys know how to party, don't you?
We went out to dinner at a local pizza place, and just being out there, being available. And I'm going to do that every day. I'm doing it today. Even Saturday, we've got our Casco United Methodist Church in my township, and they have a big holiday fair. So I'm going to go there because these ladies stuck with me, and I'm going to buy something.
Congratulations. I do say it again. Mary Whiteford, congratulations. You've taken the 80th House District GOP primary, which likely means you'll win it. I appreciate you stopping by. I have to run. It's Thursday, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.